Hello everyone. Uh, I'm Hitesh. I work as a senior product engineer at Improving. This demo is all about the work that I did for the Scrape-Verse Hackathon. Um, Basically, we need to utilize BrightData's offerings in order to build a scraper that can, consistently scrape a site, a chosen site, and self-fill. The logic to scrape can self-fill itself whenever the site changes, right? So that it can consistently pull out the data it needs. um, so I started doing, this is the repo that I have built for this. I'll be submitting this. And so I intended to, build the scraper for this particular screen. This is a dividend yield screener dot ins, dividend. It lists out the shares that have provide dividends, right? So that was the intent. And it has a workflow. If you go to the actions, you can see a lot of few workflows here. So the scrape on merge, it's the workflow that tries to scrape this particular URL, okay, and extract the data out of it. The thing is that I cannot demonstrate the self fill feature for this screen because the it doesn't change, right? The DOM of it doesn't change. So what I did instead was I created a dummy, index.html. Uh, it's a mirror. I call it. I refer to it as a mirror of the screener, a lightweight mirror, um, so that I can alter its DOM and verify if the self-fill feature works or not. So it has two versions. It has like V1 and V2. So if I just toggle, you can see there are some, I interchange the columns in between. And the other change is that the DOM itself is a bit different in between, right? If you see here, it's a div that has a table, that has a t head, t body, and rows. And here it's a section that has a div that has a table, t head, and all that, right? So DOM is a bit different. So and this work so there is a workflow called break mirror. So what I do is, like, I when you run this workflow, it deploys the version that is not deployed, right? So it changes the version, it toggles the version, okay, and then I can run a self fill loop, okay. That's the workflow. So this is all the setup. um, but let me walk through the architecture of it, right? So first, let me take you to the another part of the setup, that is BrightData. In BrightData, I created a few collectors. Yeah. So one is this. This is for the screener.in, this particular page, and this is for the other one is for um, the hosted page, right? The minimal page that I created, mirror page. Yeah. So these are the two screen collectors I created, and this is for the crawl API. This is just to fetch the latest version of the page. Okay, um, while during the self fill flow. Okay, yeah. So these are the three things that I have taken in, and what I did was, if you go to the settings, um, uh, into the secrets, it has all these three secrets, right? So it has the API token of the bright data, it has both the collectors, this is the screen collector and this is the demo collector, and the open API key, because I need to figure out, in the self fill flow, you need to figure out what changed basically, right? The structure of the current page, and then you advise to bright data's, API, by providing a prompt that what is the current structure, so that it can update the collector code, okay. So if you go into this, so I will be demonstrating this one, right? So if you go into this, there is this code, right? And so it has this parser code, and it is currently, configured to scrape one of the versions, right? And if you look at the change log, you can see we have tried to update it. The self-fill flow has tried to update it and generated these many versions, right? Because of it runs and creates a version every time it sees a mismatch, right? and these are the runs, like some runs are attributed to which template, right? You can see here. uh, okay, so now uh, yeah, so that's, so you can go to the readme and or the GitHub page to see the architecture. I'll just tell you what all APIs that we are using, right? um, so you are using this refactor temp. So yeah, first of all, you're using this crawl API to get the current version of the you know page that we are trying, whenever if it is broken. Okay, so yeah, so the broken logic, first you need to see if we are, first we trigger and get trigger a data set and we try to get the data, because the collectors itself are know which URL to scrape, right? So we trigger that particular data set, right? And we get the data, and then we write the results into one of these pages, right, in the data folder. Okay, so demo is for the mirror version of the mirror URL, and production is for the screener. So I have separated them out. So we write the data, then the GitHub workflow tries to read it and figures out if it is broken or not. Broken logic can be anything. For my demo purpose, I'm seeing that was I able to extract any data. If yes, then it is healthy. If it could not extract any data, it is broken. So this doesn't mean that this is the correct way of determining a health or a state, but I just keep things simple for this demo. And if it is healthy, then it goes and just writes the report to the, so that it can be checked in the next flow, uh, but current report, right? And otherwise, if it is broken, then it fetches the live HTML by using the crawl API that we have. If you go to the scrapers, there is a crawl API, right? It provides the URL, then this crawler gets you the HTML um, of that page. And once we have the HTML, we pass it to a open API model, and we generate a prompt out of it that we need to provide to a refactor template, right? And when we provide it to a refactor template, that's when a version is created, a new version is created, right? The change log, right? And after that, if you run it, if you run the flow again, it will collect the data correctly. Okay, so that's how the flow is all about. Now let's see the demo how it works. Let me run this. So if I run this self-fill workflow, it is going to this mirror, right? It will try to scrape that. So basically, when you run this workflow, mm, let's see. Yeah, so it started. So it basically, in the self fill loop, right? It is trying to collect the data, right? And you can go and check in the runs that you can go and check in the runs that this one is started. Like if you see, this is 4DG, ends with 4DG, right? That's what the data set is logged here, right? Because it uses using that. So obviously this has finished, right? It has finished. So it's now, so yeah, it was able to get those 5 records, and it registered into a and yeah, it wrote it to this demo.latest.json. Okay, if you see, it was updated just right, just now, right? Yeah. So that means it was able to collect the data, right? That's because the code itself is configured to the latest version of the of this index.html, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to update that, right? We want it to fail so that uh, we can verify if the self-fill works or not, right? So I'll go to break mirror workflow, and uh, I'll run this, right? And I'll wait for it to complete. Um, so let's see, it broke. So it basically updated the index.html with, if it was v1, it updated to v2, otherwise the other way around, right? And now you should see some difference here if I just refresh it. um, yeah, so it basically broke. So before I run the self fill, let me go to the parser code and take this, and probably put it into a text, right? come on, text editor. Okay, let me put it into a text editor. Okay, so that we can check the difference later. Okay, and now what I'll do is like since we broke it, so we'll run the self fill again. We'll go back to the workflow, go to the self fill, and we'll run the workflow. We'll just now select that. We'll wait for the page to update. It's less, right? So we'll run the workflow. It has already updated, but we'll still wait for 30 seconds just to be safe. Now if I go into this, right, so before that let me show you the change log. It's the highest version is version 16, right? So we should see a 17 if it breaks, right? um, yeah, just bear with me first because it's gonna wait for 30 seconds, right? That's why. In the meantime, you see that the last run, right, it was on v16. Yeah, let's go back to the workflow. So it started a V763 thing, a run. This is 763. Yeah. So you see that you'll notice that it broke. So you see that it is broken. It was not able to get the data. Data is broken. So it generates a prompt, okay, and sends it to the refactor job, okay, and it waits for it to update the code, right? It keeps polling, and because the refactor job has a preview thing, right? So in the preview it can you can notice if the prompt uh, was able to update the collector code or not, parser code or not, and was it able to fetch any data or not. Earlier it was zero, right? The preview will give you a smaller set of data, and original status was broken. After the fix, recovery status is approved. uh, so yeah, so it doesn't try to try to scrape it again. You have to run it again. That's how I have configured it. I have, for the demo purpose, I did not make it a loop so that I can showcase. Otherwise we can add scrape again, right? Step here, somewhere here, right? So it has. So now let's go to the uh, here, go to this place and see if the parser code has changed or not, right? I put out the older one right here. So if you see, it was earlier scraping table data dot something. Now it is doing something called mirror rows tr, right? So it did update, right? And if you see, the roce was 7, then this one was 8. Now it has changed. So ROCE percentage is to 6. This one is 7 because we altered the columns, right? In the next in the in the versions of the page, right? So the code changed. Now if you can see the change log, it's the version 17. Now if we run the self heal loop again, it should work. It won't break because the parser code has changed. So we'll go this. We'll not select this one because we have not updated the page. We'll just run the workflow and it should complete correctly. Okay, so let me go inside. This time when it runs, it runs the wz1, right? So if you go to the runs, you'll see wz1 is and it is using version 17, right? And you see it is healthy, right? It did not broke. It wrote 5 records to data dot. So I could have versioned the data so that I could have shown you, but I did not do that. I'm just storing the latest JSON, and the latest JSON has the data, right? If I had shown you the broken version, like for example, let me go to the commit history, and so this was the previous one, right? And what did it write? Let's see. Um, when it broke, it actually had 0, right? It was scraped at this time. It wrote 0 record, right? And in the latest commit, this one was 118, right? In the latest commit in 119, it actually wrote the correct, it was able to recover, right? Yeah. Yeah, so this is all about the setup and the demo. I hope you guys liked it. Yeah, thank you.